afternoon to my rising students of fifth grade. I was just thinking as I was getting ready to record this, what a great motto you chose as Reach for the Stars, since lately in science, that's exactly what we've been learning about the stars and all of those other objects that are out in outer space. Yesterday, if you recall, and I hope you do, we started focusing in on the objects we call the planets, because we now know, even if we didn't before, that Earth is not the only planet that revolves around our sun, that there are a bunch of other planets that do the same thing, even if they don't do it at exactly the same speed and in the same way. There are some planets that are closer to the sun than we are and revolve a little faster, and some planets that are further away from the sun than we are and revolve taking a lot longer than the Earth does. Yesterday, we started our study of the planets by naming them all and making sure that we knew which order they went in, starting with the sun and getting out further and further and further. So today, since I couldn't be with you live this afternoon, I've put up a couple of links and activities for you to do that will help reinforce that information and also help you to think a little bit more about the differences among those planets, because how far they are from the sun and how quickly they revolve affects some other things about those planets too. So do the different sizes and the different things they're made of. So we're going to start here by reviewing the planets, and then I'm going to tell you a little more about the activities I want you to do. So here I have a list by initials here to help you remember. Let me just zoom in a little for you. There we go. The order of the planets. Okay, as we should know from yesterday, the closest planet to the sun is named Mercury. Then comes Venus. And then here we are, we're number 3, the Earth. After us, we have that red planet Mars, the huge planet Jupiter, the planet we can probably all picture the best because it has those interesting rings around it called Saturn. Then you have the planets they sometimes refer to as the twins that are way out there, Uranus and Neptune. And then finally, I put Pluto up here, but you notice I put it a little different with a question mark. As we discussed at the end of yesterday's class, Pluto is a debate. For a long time, Pluto was considered the 9th planet in our solar system. However, recently, as scientists have gotten better technology and been able to explore the outer areas of our solar system better, there's become a big debate and different perspectives on whether Pluto should be considered a planet, because there are other similar types of objects out in that area of space that maybe Pluto is not a planet in our solar system, but a different type of body. So lately, the latest is that scientists have decided to call it a dwarf planet. So I included Pluto because some people do still believe it should be a planet and some people don't, and the debate is ongoing and changes are still being made. So at this point, I'll let you decide. You know that Pluto is out there beyond Neptune, and it is a relatively large object, and it does revolve around our sun. In fact, there are times even when it's a little closer to our sun than Neptune because their orbits are not exactly the same shape. So we'll keep Pluto on the list for now, but you do know that Pluto is a little bit different category. All right, so the reason I put them up here like this is because it's a lot to remember, 9 in a row. And lots of times people try to come up with a little trick. And it's a fun little activity for you to do, to come up with this little trick of how to remember the planets in order. Sometimes people call that a mnemonic device or a memory device that helps you remember things in order. Kind of like we use RACE when we do short response. The RACE stand for something. They stand for restate, answer, cite evidence, explain. Okay. We're going to do the same kind of thing with the planets. Okay, there have been many sentences, maybe you've even heard some of them, that people have devised over the years to try and get you to remember the order of the planets based on the first initial of each of their names. So if you see over on this side, I've just written the first initial over again. I'm going to share with you the one I always heard when I was a kid. You're going to come up with your own in one of the activities later, but let me share with you the one I always heard when I was a kid. My very eager mother just, it's hard to come up with a J, so just was a good idea, served us, The U was probably tricky too. 9. I guess the 9 was clever because maybe that also helps you remember that there's 9 planets, or at least there were at that time before Pluto was taken away. Pizzas. Okay, so that's the sentence I was taught in school. When I was trying to memorize the planets for my quiz, I was taught, my very eager mother just served us 9 pizzas. So then I could go in my head, oh, Mercury, very, Venus, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that might help me on a quiz or a test to remember not just their names, but what order they go in, so I don't get that mixed up. So today I have a few activities for you to do. You're not going to use this sentence, you're going to come up with your own. So you have 3 links going along with this video. And the first one is a Google form where you can fill out, I wrote the word acrostic up here. Sometimes we do these things for holidays too, and we call them acrostics, where like you write the word mom and you try and find something with each letter. So I wrote the word acrostic up here too. So that's what the Google form is called. You're going to come up with your own acrostic, your own little memory trick to remember the order of the planets. So that's one activity that you have to do during science today, since we can't meet. The other 2 activities I put up for you are fun little activities just to get you to think about how different some of these other planets are. We know they're different in how far away they are. We know they have different sizes. Some of them are made up of very different things than the Earth. We know they have different temperatures, and they also have different gravities. I know you've seen pictures of astronauts floating out in space or bouncing around on the moon. Gravity in other places out in outer space is not the same as it is here on Earth, which affects how heavy things seem and how much we weigh. So the other 2 activities you have are links to these cool little websites that will calculate some things and some differences between Earth and other planets. You can put in your age, and it will tell you what your age would be on other planets. Because since the planets revolve around the sun at different speeds, and some take longer than others, remember, we measure our age in years because it takes the Earth 1 year, 365 days to revolve around the sun. Well, guess what? It doesn't take the other planets the same amount of time to revolve around the sun. So this website calculates, gee, if you were revolving around the sun, not 1 time per year, like we measure it on Earth, but either faster or slower on the other planets, what would your age be in years on all the other planets? When would your next birthday be? How many days old would you be? So you don't have to do any of that work except put in your birthday. And then it will calculate for you just so you can look over and see the differences on some of the other planets. The other link is to do the same thing with your weight. You put in your weight on Earth, and because other planets have different gravity, then you would weigh more or less on other planets depending on what their gravity is. So you can go through and you can notice, gee, why do you think I'm heavier on some planets and lighter on others? Hint, that one does not have to do with how close they are to the sun. And we are going to talk a little bit more about the differences among the planets when we do meet tomorrow at Science Time. We'll be talking about the special features of each planet, and then we'll be getting more specifically into gravity. So over the next couple days, we'll learn more about why some of these differences are and what it might be like on some of the different planets. So it'll be great for you to get a start today on noticing some of the differences and doing a little of your own thinking about what do I think these differences and any patterns I notice might mean. And you can come with your own theories tomorrow and the next day when we start to discuss these things in class. Okay, so just to recap, you have 3 things to do today. You're gonna make your own little acrostic device, not my sentence, one of your own, and fill it out in the Google form so you have a way to help yourself remember the order of the planets. And then you're gonna go to those 2 other links and play around and see what your age and your weight might be in other places in our solar system or universe and not on Earth. And then I will see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're on a regular schedule, so I will see everybody at 8:30. So go, reach for the stars.